camera's speeding. This is take one.
Yeah.
You're good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I guess we start where this thing starts. Did you have this sound in your head when you set out on this record? Was there a target you were looking at the beginning, or did that
I
kind of
think
take
so.
shape?
I think there was. I remember being on tour for Battle Studies. And I was in the middle of a summer tour. Maybe I was in the middle of a winter tour, actually. I was in the middle of a winter tour, that's what it was, when this thing kind of turned over, when I went from Mark 1 to Mark 2, so to speak. It was really frustrating because I had to finish out supporting this record that was, I think, at the tail end of sort of these musical ideals that I'd had for a long time. And I remember being in bed listening to, like, After the Gold Rush, or maybe even discovering some stuff that I'd be embarrassed to say took me so long to find, but like Bob Dylan albums that aren't sort of freewheeling Bob Dylan or Times They Are Changing, like Bob Dylan albums like New Morning and stuff, and finding such great music there. And maybe I'm a little sociopathic in that my dreams usually involve dreaming that I'm someone else completely instead of dreams for myself. I become I get very excited and upset with myself because I hear someone do something that I would love to have come out of me, and I get excited to do it and upset that I can't at the moment that I hear it, And so I heard these sounds, and I was really intrigued and attracted to the idea that you can have your first record twice. Can I be a part of something organic? Can I be a part of the excitement that usually accompanies someone's first record? Can I have it back? It was a weird sort of nostalgia and sadness for those really energetic, formative beginning years. And I had to wait quite a while to do it, but as soon as I got off the tour, and I don't want to give anyone the impression that they were seeing somebody hating every moment of it. I loved playing those shows, but on a deeper level, there was something that unfortunately I had found that I wanted to do before I was able to do it, which isn't much different than discovering music was in the first place when I was in high school. And so I think when everybody would have accepted that I wanted to take a year off, I took not even a month off, because I had now had this new download, this kind of fresh download, not just musically, but lifestyle-wise, how I just wanted to give it all back to music again. And so I went into Electric Lady Studios, and it's not the most cost-effective thing in the world to write in the studio, but I knew that I just wanted a really safe place, And it became just such a safe place, kind of for the reason that Jimi Hendrix built it in the first place, to kind of get away from all the radio interference, And so yeah, those records, I wanted to play the acoustic guitar. I had all the excitement of being known again, because it's almost harder to be reknown than it is to get known in the first place, because you catch a lot of flack for it, But I had this moment, this really energetic writing experience,
And what was it? Obviously, to say how great those records are when you're talking about Neil records and Bob records and the other things you can hear in here. But what was it that you think you were responding to at that moment? What were you hearing that opened up in that way?
I think it
was there a song, or was there a moment in a song where you could feel it click?
Oh, that's a good
say,
question.
Oh, now I see what this...
That's a really good question. I don't think there was any one song that set the tone. maybe Born and Raised. Born and Raised came really early. I mean, I remember the order of these songs. I mean, it was the middle of October and I wrote Whiskey. And that's why it says, you know, well, we pick up in New York City. That's the continuation from Battle Studies. It just happens to be like the second to last song on the record or something. But I remember Born and Raised came right after that. And I think the sound of Born and Raised and also the honesty. This record, I think, like I took everything off. I took everything off. The idea of being a celebrity, the past, better and worse, the past, being known, having to write a fifth record. I took all of it away, and so I was not writing it with the expectation that it was going to be heard in Australia. I just couldn't think like that. It was about going back to the process of having a great idea that you can play on a piano or a guitar. And they're just really hard to write. The process, if you don't hit it, is terrible. The process of, you know, when you're in a studio and you've got other people listening to you, you can't help but have a performance mentality. And I think a lot of times people want to have a loop going and a drum machine going so that people get satisfied around you so they don't think they're wasting their time. So what I would do is go behind the microphone and say, hey, could you turn me down in there? So I was the only person hearing it. And I would spend sometimes 90 minutes. But what there wasn't was like discouragement about other people, worrying that other people would like to be somewhere else. And then I'd text and say, turn me up. And I'd have the chorus to Shadow Days. And then I would work from there. And so Born and Raised, I think, was the song that showed me that if you're honest, if you're a little more brave than you want to be, it can pay off. But this is not about, will anyone like this? How does this complement my catalog? It really, I shut everything down. I stopped participating, physically participating in things, and also mentally participating in things. And I feel like it's an old record in the sense that it's what you get if you only focus on writing a record, you know? It's not, you don't hear, what I think the record has is that it's not partitioned. The mindset is not partitioned into 5 or 6 places. The guy writing the record is right there. There's such a presence to it because I'm not also trying to compose another thing or another thought. And again, I don't think I'll ever do it differently. If you write without worrying about what it is you got, you really can plumb some depths, man. Like, you really can come back with something and you say, I had no idea I could do that. Well, you didn't know because you would have told yourself it was a dumb idea. I mean, if I set out to write a song about a guy who builds a submarine, I wouldn't have let myself play the first note, you know.
Well, when you talk about Dylan or Neil or
Yeah.
those kinds of guys, I mean, that's the thing that comes off of those records is they're writing those songs to hear where those songs take them.
That's it.
I mean,
That was
there's no other.
Well, and then, you know, I mean, what's the biggest problem after that? You get known, people appreciate what you've done, and then they invite you back to the party. And then it's that much harder to write again because you realize how much more fun the party is than going home early to write. You know, so, I mean, maybe that explains how you have a good one and a bad one and a good one and a bad one, is that all the good that comes from the good one just partitions your brain again, you know?
It's interesting. I mean, it sounds very different than like what the trio stuff was for you. I mean, on the one hand, you think of it as like, oh, okay, so that was him doing that, but it feels like where that was kind of showing something that you had inside you that you were now, this is about trying to find some other thing. Yeah,
well, I think that's true. The trio was still pure of heart, but it was intentional. And this was unintentional. And I learned from it as I went. That's why there's no song that directed me. I think they all kind of directed me. I mean, it was difficult to figure out what went on the record and what didn't. There's probably twice as many songs. And some of them I think are really great. It's just that the standard was set. I think the standard of each song was, it has to not have a single moment where it's not believable, or it has a weak lyric or a weak link or a bridge that's not done. And the standard was just really high, but there's like 8 or 10 songs that are so close, are so close, and you swear in the first verse that this is great, and you're just crazy for not putting it on the record. And you go, that's a very good chorus. But then somewhere around the second chorus, you go, yeah, I get how it's not on this record. I get that, you know. So if it weren't for how many different songs were written, this would have been a very fast record. But really, it was about calling together the songs that all are spirited the same way, so that they become a larger sort of a picture. Instead of being, you know what it was? It was like it wasn't a calling card anymore. And I'm lucky. I'm really lucky that people know that I can play a guitar. They know that there's certain things I can do. They know that I can turn a phrase, so to speak. So I don't really have to use my music anymore as a way to get known or seen. And in fact, I wanted to go unknown and unseen, you know. Like when I wrote this blog when I got off tour for Battle Studies, I said, I'm just going to hang out in New York and work on becoming irrelevant. Which sounds just, you know, like blindly self-effacing, but it's not. Because I had become relevant in really irrelevant circles, you know? And it's a very difficult thing to divorce yourself from attention, even when that attention is unwanted. There's something weird happens when they stop printing lies about you, you know?
Still addictive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was tough. It wasn't tough, it was a challenge. But the only thing that I needed to say was, well, you just remember you didn't want that anyway. And what you wanted, you still have, you know? And it was a strange time to say, I'm going to become forgettable so that I can be remembered again for what's important, you know?
So what did having...
Let's cut for media.